what makes me a tax resident of a place that I'm staying, where then you could potentially have to pay taxes in the country where you're living at the moment.
In my last episode from my Digital Nomad series, I interviewed people from Florianopolis, Brazil, asking how much they make. And in today's episode, I'm going to a new Digital Nomads hub to ask them a new question that we all want to know. This episode, I'm in Buenos Aires, also a very non-digital nomad hub for its incredible cosmopolitan vibes, amazing culture and cuisine, and most importantly, very affordable prices. So I decided to come to Salina again to find some more digital nomads and ask them new questions this time. The most frequently asked one, how do they pay taxes? Let's ask them and find out. What's your name?
My name is Marvin. I'm from the US. Yes.
And what do you do?
I started my own podcast management business last year. Prior to that, I was a copywriter.
And when did you start having this lifestyle?
I left the US about 6 years ago. I wanted to leave my career and just see the world. And I didn't want to go back home. My original career, the previous version of me was I was in real estate. I worked for builders in Las Vegas. And I was like, I want to do something in sales. And I thought copywriting was the closest thing I could do in sales that I could do remotely. So I started that about 3 to 4 years ago.
Did you do university or did you learn by yourself?
I did go to university, but that was for business. I went to the University of San Diego. In terms of copywriting, I actually took a course, like a 9-week live training course.
You started traveling first and then you became a copywriter?
I did it backwards. I don't recommend it doing this way. I was lucky that I had saved so much that I didn't have the financial stress. Looking back, I would never take that much time off because, at some point you just become like, you're almost like, you feel like you're retired. And you're like, oh, I have to go back to work and all this stress. Yeah. But it took me a minute to get back into that level of stress and, deadlines and stuff.
And then after copywriting, how did you decide to go to the podcast world?
A couple things had happened. AI is clearly happening.
Yeah.
And I noticed it was starting to affect the business. AI can only do so much. I still think it's a tool, but I knew what was going to happen. In my mind, I was like, okay, so people are going to try to use AI to write their listings, to do their work. It's not going to work, but it's going to create another delay. And I reconnected with a friend, my friend Chelsea, and I love podcasts. I've listened to so many podcasts. She's a podcaster. She used to be a doctor and she grew her career coaching business to 6 figures just using her podcast as a platform to reach her clients. Do you want to break down what is podcast management? Yeah. I would say it's not too dissimilar to what a YouTube manager would be. Like if one day you decided, I don't want to do anything but these interviews, then somebody else would take care of everything. So I take care of the back end stuff. So whether it's editing a podcast, a lot of the power behind podcasting is also repurposing it, whether that's clips for social media, whether that's a lot of copy. So you can take this one piece, that's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, and you can turn it to 1 or more blog posts to post on LinkedIn, to post in socials. Yeah, so you have all this great content, and I do that. I make sure that I maintain their consistency. I'm moving into a little bit of a producer role. The ideas.
For the next videos, how much do you make per month as a podcast manager, and how much you used to make as a copywriter?
I can tell you that on average, my retainer per client is about $1,000.
Okay.
And I would say that's on the low end. I always looked at it as start small and then build up. And then in terms of copywriting I did Amazon. So I'd say I was maybe around $3,000 a month, around there.
Okay. About the taxes part, how does it work? Do you pay taxes in the US? Where is your business?
Yeah. As a US citizen, we pay taxes. No matter where we go, we have to pay taxes in the US.
In the US?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to open your company in another country, or you could?
I guess you could. I'm not an expert in this. I've seen people that choose to, but there has to be another reason. I was actually talking to a friend about it yesterday. It's like, since he's from the US, and it's like, I'm open to opening it somewhere if I can get residency there, or I can get a path to citizenship, because it's like, how much is it worth to me to pay a tax as a digital nomad than I'm, paying it to 2. There's definitely places in Europe that are more more hospitable for that, but we're still trying to figure that out.
Which countries in Europe would you say that are good for digital nomads to open?
Bulgaria, they have a low tax rate. Americans have an option in Amsterdam, in Holland.
Okay.
It's called the Dutch-American Friendship Treaty. So there's that as well. And that allows Americans to work as freelancers in Holland, yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite thing about being a digital nomad?
I would say the community. Just having a really strong community of people that, bring you energy and also can probably just relate.
What's your handle?
Well, for my business, it's Impact Podcasting.
Okay.
And for my personal, it's The Marvin Chronicles.
Okay. What's your name?
My name is Yehuda.
I'm David.
Where are you guys from?
Israel.
Both?
Yeah.
We are cousins. We used to live together.
And do you travel and work? What do you guys do?
Yeah, we travel and work. We both do different things.
Traveling for the last 6 months, I think. I was in Sri Lanka, Thailand, now I'm here in Argentina. I was in Brazil also. I worked for a QA automation engineer in an IT company in Israel.
So you work for a company? You don't do it freelance?
No.
An employee.
Employee.
And what do you do?
I founded a company. It's called Ringle Jewish dating app. It's a Jewish dating app with 3 friends. We have this company. We have this app, and now I'm exploring other places. I want to go to United States and maybe launch it there for Jewish in America.
So what kind of app is that?
So the app is for religious people, traditional people, Jewish people, for marriage purposes. The known concept of swiping left and right.
Yeah, so like Tinder?
Yeah.
But more
like
for
Tinder.
marriage and for Jewish people.
Yeah, I believe religious Jewish people want to use Tinder. It's a great app, but not for what they're looking for.
Yeah, it's a little bit more casual dating, so it's not really religious. Yeah. And you also do programming in your job.
Kind of. It's like QA is more like testing, where you can write scripts for testing the program and the product. We both we were in the same unit in IDF.
IDF, okay. And when did you start traveling?
The last August. Yeah, kind of like it.
Nowadays, how many hours per day do you usually work?
I'm working like 5-6 hours.
5-6 hours.
I
That's
hope my
not too
boss.
bad.
I hope my boss don't see it because I'm supposed to work night, but I think I'm fast. So
Okay, you don't need to work that much if you can do it faster.
No, I know.
Yeah.
For me, I'm still working a lot. It is working for itself.
Yeah.
It's running itself. We still get work to do. Especially in Israel now, it's already it's a known dating app.
Nice.
But in America, it's still very new, so we got work there to do.
How much money do you usually make per month?
I'm making like $4,000, something like that.
Nice. That's very good.
For me, it's more complicated.
Does it fluctuate a lot?
No, it's a good graph. It's
Yeah.
growing, but I spent all my money and I didn't work for 2 years. So I spent all my savings. Now I'm touching the floor. It's going to a good place, and I can see that it will make money.
Yeah.
You see the light in the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, we can see the light
Yeah.
at the end of the tunnel.
But that's
with this
normal.
project.
That's normal. In the beginning of every business, you're gonna have to use money to make it. And one more question: you don't have a company, but you have a company. Your company is based in Israel, right? And do you pay taxes in Israel?
We pay taxes in Israel.
Yeah, normal. Okay.
Yeah, it's a company that is in Israel, based in Israel.
Everything there.
Maybe in the future we will make some, I don't know,
Arrangement.
American, Israel company if
Some digital nomads, they are trying to find countries and places that they have to pay less taxes. So they find a place that the taxes are lower and they open a company there. What would you say to someone who wants to become a digital nomad?
I think for me it worked like, first of all, be able to do a form of money.
You need to find a job and then
Need
you
to
can
find
do
a
it.
way to make money remotely.
I think it's super realistic to become an entrepreneur, to succeed. It can happen to anyone, but you gotta
Take in mind.
I think so.
that it will be super hard at the beginning.
Yes.
You need to pay this price, the 2 years just to fight yourself through this
Don't give
wall.
up.
It's all this this cliche. That
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was really nice to meet you and enjoy your travels. Well, guys, I'm here with other two digital nomads that are staying in Buenos Aires. So, what are your names?
Yeah, JJ Thalen.
My name is Laura Figueroa. I'm from Venezuela, but I live in Mexico.
I'm American, but living as a digital nomad for the last couple of years. But before that, spent 6 years in Colombia and 3 in Mexico.
Since when have you been a digital nomad?
I'd say the last 2.5 years. But I would say before that, I would say I was an expat. So I wasn't traveling, but like I lived in Medellin for 3 years, Bogota for 3 years, Mexico City for 3. So it wasn't like, let's move everywhere every couple of weeks or a couple of months.
But you were working remotely or you were working
No,
at
I
the
worked.
country?
Well, part of it was I had my own business for part of it. And then the first 6 months in Colombia, I had a job.
What kind of business do you guys have that let you have this freedom?
Yeah, so before I actually had a clothing brand in Colombia and Mexico, and Laura ran the marketing for that. That business unfortunately shut down, but through different kind of startup accelerators and other experiences, learned a ton about marketing.
Yeah.
People always ask us about like, how do you run Facebook ads? How does YouTube work? How does this? And so that business we shut down, but we launched more of an agency to begin with, working with clients. And then with the clothing brand, we actually started a YouTube channel and realized what the power of YouTube was. And over time with the agency, started creating our own YouTube content slowly while we had clients, then got to a point around when COVID started where our content was doing well. We launched a couple of courses and we're like, yeah, we don't want to deal with this whole client thing anymore. We can make enough money with just YouTube. And courses as opposed to...
So right now we are more like an academy, content creators, and consulting. That is the business around digital marketing.
Yeah.
What's your handle?
So the Figco is the company that we have both in English and Spanish. We're primarily on YouTube where we teach digital marketing.
What would you say is your favorite thing as a digital nomad?
And then for me, just experiencing different cultures. And it wasn't, when I first started traveling a couple of years ago, it was more, I traveled probably too quickly. So it was like a week or 2 weeks in different places where I didn't really have as much of a chance to meet people and get quite as immersed in the culture. But lately I've been trying to stay for a couple of months. And then it wasn't until, I think it was June last year, I went to the Mexico Nomad Fest. And that was the first time where there were like 700 digital nomads in one place. And one of the great things there, that showed up on like the very first day and you know one. And then I stayed around a week afterwards. I had, I don't know, it was like 15 or 20 people at my birthday dinner that I had not met 2 weeks prior to that. And kind of since that, later went on the Nomad cruise where I knew a bunch of people from Mexico. I also met a bunch of new friends. And then now I think for me, one of the important things is having friends that you're traveling with or at least know people in the different cities, because it's nice when you're like, I don't know what I want to do today. And someone messages you and is like, hey, there's this good restaurant or you want to go on this walking tour or to have that group of people that you're traveling with. And so that's one of the nice things of either going to a hub where there's a ton of digital nomads, like Buenos Aires would be one of them for sure. Thanks to Bulgaria. I mean, there's a bunch all over the world, but having a lot of people that just arrived and they're looking to do fun stuff as well, but they're not on vacation either, so they're not bothering you 7 days a week to do stuff. They realize that during the day they're also doing work, and it's
balance.
And having that balance of, hey, we've got a lot of work to get done during the day, but then also let's explore the city and do some fun things at the same time.
And where is your business based at the moment?
We have a US-based company, so it's a US LLC.
How are the taxes for that?
So I think it matters a lot where the person is from. So unfortunately, Americans have to pay taxes in the US regardless. But I think one of the nice things, there were some workshops on the Nomad cruise we went through where it was people from everywhere. And for a lot of digital nomads, it's helpful to have basically the same setup that we do, having a US LLC, which you don't have to pay any taxes in the US. The business doesn't, it's the individual. And so me as an individual has to pay my US taxes, but if someone is German or Colombian or wherever in the world they are. And so the US, they don't pay taxes for their business. And then if they're a digital nomad and they're not a tax resident anywhere else because they're like a couple months in different locations, then they don't have to pay any individual tax either. And so it's just a matter with that of, if you spent 6 months in France or something like that, or whatever the rules for each country you'd have to understand of like, what makes me a tax resident of a place that I'm staying, where then you could potentially have to pay taxes in the country where.
And how much money do you usually make per month?
Between $10,000 and $20,000 a month.
For both or each?
The business, like
The
in
business,
total.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So what's your name?
I'm Jeff
And where are you from
Pennsylvania, United States.
So you're a digital nomad?
Yep, kind of like it's new. It's
Yeah.
new. Uh-huh.
And what do you do that lets you work remotely?
I am a web developer, so doing full stack as they call it.
Yeah. Programming.
Yeah, programming, back end stuff and front end stuff. So we focus on like applications on the web, like really not just like little websites, but like powerful programs that you can use for business management, things like that. Like think of QuickBooks or anything web based like that offers like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So web technologies though would be the main focus. Yeah.
And you work for a company.
Yes.
You don't do it freelancing.
Not yet.
As an employee, do you have the freedom of times, of hours?
Not necessarily. I work for a startup and we have like a set kind of hours we're all supposed to be online. That's only like 5 hours a day, and beyond that we can kind of create our own hours.
That's not bad.
So there's kind of a minimum per day that we're online and everybody's working. Beyond that, it's really flexible. I've been with the startup since the beginning, so they offer me like a lot of just flexibility just because I've been there.
What's your journey? Did you study something else and change?
I was never good at studying. I did construction for 5 years,
Okay.
and then I switched to technology in 2021. I went to like a boot camp. I was one of the lucky people who like, a boot camp's like an online, really intensive study program.
Okay.
I did that for like 10 months, and then I got a job right at the beginning of COVID, lost the job, and I traveled. I lived in Hawaii for like a year, and then once I got back, I started again with the same company actually.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of a crazy journey, but from construction to here, it's definitely a big change. I remember like being 15 or 16 and like I think I saw like a YouTube channel where they did like van life or something. My whole family did construction, so I was like, what is this? Like people can just do that? What the heck is this? So I kind of looked into it and got more and more interested. Always was kind of a dream, just did construction throughout all my teenage years up until I was 20. Then I was like, I don't like this. Like I really want to travel. So I moved back with my parents and just like studied for 10 months and made the switch. My background, like it's an interesting kind of mix. Like my family was Amish actually. I don't know if you know what those are.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
I went to some Amish community.
Did you? Yeah, because you said you traveled through. Right?
I went to some Amish community in Texas. I tried to do a video.
You tried it? They don't allow you. Yeah.
So are they still Amish?
No. So my parents were Amish until like their mid 30s, and then they would have left a little bit before I was born. So I was raised Mennonite, which is like a different thing. But now
so
like
interesting.
now you'd never know it. Like they live in the middle of the countryside in Pennsylvania. They're just rednecks now.
Okay.
Or that's how it seems. But then they'll randomly like speak like Pennsylvania Dutch, which is the language of the Amish in Pennsylvania.
How much money do you usually make per month?
It's like I make around $7,000 or $8,000 a month before tax. So as a U.S. citizen, we still get taxed when we're traveling abroad, like everything like that. So what you actually have after that's probably around $6,000-ish a month.
That's very good.
It's very good.
Traveling.
Yeah.
And about the taxes part that you mentioned, so U.S. citizen, so you pay taxes in the U.S.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. How is that set up? How does it work?
I mean, it gets automatically deducted from my paycheck.
Okay.
And then like we do our taxes once a year, and if we pay too much in tax, then they give us a refund. If we didn't pay enough, tax return. If we didn't pay enough, then sometimes we pay an extra, but you don't really think about it a lot. You just see the percentages get subtracted. And
do you know how much the percentage is?
I think
or it depends.
So it depends on how much you make, but like I'm like in the 18 to 24% range. The tax system is a little complicated. I won't go into it, but like in a year, it's 18 to 24%.
And last question, what would you say to someone who wants to become a digital nomad but is afraid, or the family is not very supportive?
Everyone thinks the world is a lot less safe than it is. Like, sure, there's areas you just don't go to, but like I felt more unsafe in a lot of areas of the U.S. than I have like while traveling abroad. Like people get really scared, and it is scary. Like I almost canceled this trip because like I was like, this is new,
So
it's scary.
From you.
Exactly. Like you arrive in a new area and it's difficult, and you want to go grocery shopping, and it's an ordeal. It's a pain.
So what's your name?
My name is Bori.
Where are you from?
Hungary.
So you are a full-time digital nomad?
I'm a business coach. I help people actually find a dream job to become a flight attendant, but I'm focusing on the Hungarian market right now. Also, as a side job, I actually work with Nomad Cruise as well, a pastime activity.
So you work with Nomad Cruise. What do you do for them?
I am the main host for Nomad Cruise.
And as a host, what do you do in the cruise? You just get people together? How does it work?
Well, I kind of overview everything that's happening on Nomad Cruise when we are on the boat. So it's kind of operations. I overview the program and the teams, and I have a little bit of stage presence. I become daily hosts on the stage, make sure that everything runs smoothly. It's coming 9 years since I'm
9
Nomad.
years.
Yes, I started in 2015.
Yeah.
It's 5th of January. That's my anniversary. And the idea came in 2013 first time when I traveled to Bali as a backpacker, and then I found Nomads there, and then I'm social media manager, like I could do it. And then I went home, I prepared for a year, and then I started traveling in 2015. And sometimes I have home bases. Right now I don't have any home base, but I do like to go back like for 3 months more or less for Hungary. I like the last week. It's fun.
Well, you've been a digital nomad for 9 years. I think a lot of people say that you can get tired of this lifestyle. Did you ever get to a point that you're like, I don't want to do this anymore?
I'm definitely so much slower than I was in the beginning, and I would suggest everybody who's like watching this, like take it slow, like don't have to run anywhere. I actually found places that I love and I know what I like, and I can just like follow what I actually like.
After 9 years of being a digital nomad, what would you say is your favorite thing about being a nomad?
Favorite thing is, I think, meeting pioneers and meeting people who are curious and meeting people who are just like you, listening to all of us.
How much money do you usually make per month as a digital nomad?
It's getting better and better. Let's just say. I have to say it's a freaking roller coaster, and then sometimes it fluctuates. But I'm still not at the six figure, but this year I'm really hoping to get the 6 figure.
You said your business is based in Hungary?
Yeah.
So you pay taxes there?
Yes. I'm still the traditional paying taxes from Hungary. Also because I have property in Hungary and kind of, like
makes sense.
It's on my name. I'm not using it as like my taxes. For example, in Hungary, if I'm not wrong, if I check out if you have an LLC, you still need to tax in your home country depending on the contract that you have with the US. Like your country needs to have an anti-double taxation law. I'm just translating. Yeah. As far as I know, and we don't have it with Hungary, so that would not be an option for me because I would need to still
to take it out from Hungary.
Exactly. So another option that people do is that they check out from Hungary, like check out from the country where they pay taxes, and then find residence somewhere else, which would make sense. And I think I would like to pay taxes continuously. Like I think taxes are essential. I think we should not cheat on that one. The main problem if you are not actually in the country,
it doesn't make sense.
It's just like where should we pay taxes? I think the infrastructure for nomads and location dependents are still not there for us to be like, it would be a healthy system.
One last question. What would you say to someone who wants to become a digital nomad and it's the person is too afraid to do it?
I think your courage should be bigger than your fear. I think you just need to be more curious. Not your courage, but your curiosity should be bigger than your fear. Just be more curious on what else are you capable of. And if you're curious on what else is out there, whether it's your skills or whether it's your whether it's culture and it's literally out there from your city or from your country, then even if you're afraid, you still should. You still should do. You just need to make sure that your curiosity is larger than your fear. That's really nice.
If you watched the video of me doing interviews in Florianopolis, I met Khris. He was one of the digital nomads that I interviewed him. And he is also in Buenos Aires.
Yeah. Hello guys. So basically, being a nomad comes with its own challenges. And first of all, I'm not a tax expert. This is no tax consulting session or whatever. So in the next session, ask the experts exactly.
I'm going to bring experts.
But yeah, so first of all, what you have to consider is when you are a nomad, you're always operating in some kind of gray zone because the world is not ready for nomads at the moment. So in normal life, you are a citizen, you get a job somewhere in a corporation, in the company, in your home country, and you work there all your life, and then you retire. So for the system, it's very easy to, let's say, gauge you, right? Who you are. So basically, you're earning money, you're paying taxes there, and that's also like where you eventually retire. So being a nomad comes with its own challenges, right? Because the tax laws of this world, they are not ready for nomads. So first of all, I want to say that being a nomad means you need normally a home base. That's option 1. Option 2 is you have no home base anymore. And a setup is usually very different in in those cases. Because if you have a home base, your country allows you to travel a certain amount of time before you become a tax resident of some other country. Most of the time, it's 183 days you have to be in the country. Also, why I am a part-time digital nomad, so I spend most of my time in my home country and pay taxes there. But if you decide, for whatever reason, to give up your home base and become, let's say, a real nomad without a home base, stateless, then very different rules are applying actually. And this is actually where the gray zone is really starting. Because when you don't pay taxes anywhere in the world, let's say you don't have a home base, that means also that you might not pay taxes anywhere in the world. So for instance, what nomads do a lot is they deregister from their home country and then they start, for instance, a US LLC.
What exactly is the American LLC?
Technically, it's a limited liability corporation, and this company is being taxed where you are based.
But if you don't have a base, you're not taxed.
You're not paying taxes on this. Exactly. But that's in theory. So please confirm this with the experts.
I wonder where this is going to go. With us now, I think remote work is becoming more and more famous, and people are starting to get into the nomadic lifestyle. And I think the government of the countries will have to come up with a solution. And as you said that some countries are already thinking of those solutions. Which countries are those?
For instance, Brazil. I'm not sure what exactly the deal is, but for instance, Brazil, they launched a nomad visa.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I'm Brazilian.
True. Yeah, a friend of mine is also in Brazil who we're going to visit now very soon. And he told me, come to Brazil, we have a nomad visa and so on. Kind of funny. Cool. So I don't even know what the deal is exactly, if they have any benefits or something. Mm-hmm. But there are countries obviously that invite nomads to come, right? And
that's really interesting. I think the world is really starting to change, and I think with these videos, people are starting to see that it's extremely possible for you to make money literally out of your computer. But the generations and different cultures are still struggling to understand that that's possible. As we can see, there are so many issues and difficulties to the nomadic lifestyle that the governments will have to deal with it, and we will have to deal with it in the future. But I think that the generations and these videos, for example, are to show you and to show society that we can make money from one computer. We don't need to have a base, but how is that going to be in the future? And that's why I'm going to bring specialists to talk a little bit more about taxes. As I said, today is just a
sneak peek.
Yeah, sneak peek. And a very informal conversation about the topic. And that's why I started asking people about the taxes. But yeah, stay tuned for more for the specialists and much more about nomadic life from my channel. So see you.